Team USA thought they had found the perfect solution. After weeks of backlash sinking ratings and angry network partners, they believed handing Caitlyn Clark the most sacred number in women's basketball, the legendary number 12 jersey, would finally cool the fire. Instead, it poured gasoline on it. Rather than accept the gesture, Caitlyn reportedly refused to play, and Sophie Cunningham refused with her. In one move, the two players the league underestimated the most exposed a fracture that had been growing behind the scenes for months. What was supposed to be a clean, polished PR fix suddenly revealed the truth. This wasn't about a jersey. It was about control, influence, and who really gets to shape the future of women's basketball. The deeper you look, the more the story spirals into politics, jealousy, billion-dollar whispers, and a league struggling to contain the stars it helped create. To understand why this entire situation exploded, you have to start with the jersey itself. In women's basketball, certain numbers carry history, but Dargo and 12 isn't just a number. It's a throne. For 2 decades, it has belonged to Diana Taurasi, the White Mamba, the face of the old guard, the symbol of dominance, longevity, and the Yukon dynasty that shaped Team USA's identity. When fans see number 12, they don't just see a player, they see an era. They see gold medals finals, MVPs, Olympic perfection, and a standard almost nobody has ever reached. That's why the moment word broke that Team USA offered that number to Caitlyn Clark, the basketball world froze. Not because Caitlyn isn't worthy one day, but because this move violated the hierarchy the WNBA has protected for years. Offering number 12 to a rookie wasn't a gesture of honor, it was a red flag. An admission that the committee was panicking after months of missteps and public backlash. Inside locker rooms, veterans were stunned. Some wondered if Taurasi had been consulted, others doubted it entirely. Coaches and insiders whispered that this wasn't tradition, it was desperation. Even players who don't love Caitlyn had to admit it. This kind of offer has never been made before. Team USA wasn't celebrating her talent, they were trying to rescue their image, and every player in the league could see the cracks forming in real time. Caitlyn Clark's reported refusal blindsided the committee, but anyone paying attention to her season could see it coming. This wasn't about ego entitlement or some hunger to be crowned the next Diana Taurasi. If anything, it was the exact opposite. Caitlyn has spent months swallowing hard fouls, absorbing silent treatment from veterans, and being left off an Olympic roster she statistically earned. She didn't want a shortcut. She wanted credibility. So when Team USA suddenly dangled the sacred number 12 in front of her, she immediately understood what it really was. A shortcut meant to fix their problems, not honor her achievements. A jersey number can't erase the clips of her being hip-checked, face-guarded, or targeted with frustration fouls. It can't erase the committee ignoring the national outrage after leaving her off the team. Taking number 12 would have transformed her from a rising star into the target of every simmering resentment in the locker room. Caitlyn knew that accepting it would spark whispers. She didn't earn that. They're handing her the league. Who does she think she is? And that was exactly the trap she refused to walk into. By saying no, she avoided a storm that would have followed her into every practice, every bus ride, every international tournament. Her response delivered a message louder than any press conference: respect me because of what I do on the court, not because you need me for PR. And that message hit the league harder than the refusal itself. If Caitlyn Clark refusing to play shook the room, Sophie Cunningham joining her cracked the foundation. For months, the media painted Sophie as Caitlyn's on-court enemy, the enforcer, the physical defender, the embodiment of the old guard's toughness. Their matchups were clipped, slowed down, replayed, and turned into clickbait rivalries. Fans assumed they couldn't stand each other. The league loved that narrative. It kept eyes glued to every Mercury Fever game. But behind the curtain, something very different was brewing. Rumors now suggest Sophie isn't refusing to play because of Caitlyn, she's refusing to play with Caitlyn under the current system. And that distinction changes everything. She's reportedly fed up with the league's petty politics, the double standards, and the way certain veterans hold on to power by controlling locker rooms, rotations, and even public perception. Sophie has seen those dynamics up close. She's watched teammates get iced out. She's watched young players get humbled for daring to play with confidence. And now she's watching the same machine try to use Caitlyn as a PR tool after mistreating her for months. To Sophie, that was the final straw. By standing next to the league's most polarizing rookie, Sophie is sending a message the old guard never expected. The younger generation is done playing by outdated rules. She isn't protecting tradition, she's protecting the future. And aligning herself with Caitlyn, the league's biggest growth engine, is as much a strategic decision as it is a moral one. What once looked like rivalry now looks like rebellion. And it signals a generational split the WNBA can no longer ignore. Stephen A. Smith didn't just comment on the situation, he detonated it. The moment he went on air and confirmed that Team USA did offer Caitlyn Clark the legendary number 12 jersey, the entire conversation shifted. He called the move exactly what it looked like to anyone paying attention, a desperate attempt to save face. And coming from the most influential voice in sports media, those words carried weight the committee wasn't prepared for. Stephen A. didn't hold back. He questioned why the same organization that stayed silent while Caitlyn absorbed some of the most aggressive fouls of the season suddenly wanted to honor her with the most iconic number in women's basketball. Where was that respect when she was being hip-checked, grabbed, and targeted? Where was the protection when fans were begging the league to step in? He reminded viewers that Team USA can't spend months brushing off legitimate concerns and then think a number alone will erase the damage. Then he delivered the knockout line. If you truly believed she lacked experience, why offer her the most legendary jersey you have? That contradiction exposed Team USA more brutally than any rumor ever could. It proved their narrative was inconsistent, emotional, and reactive. And it validated what fans had been saying from the beginning: the snub wasn't about basketball. Stephen A.'s commentary did something the WNBA never expected. It flipped the national narrative entirely in Caitlyn's favor. Instead of looking like a rookie who turned down an honor, she now looked like the only person in the room who could see through the politics. And once Stephen A. lit that match, the wildfire was impossible to contain. Behind the scenes, there's a whisper spreading through front offices, locker rooms, and broadcast studios, a rumor that terrifies the WNBA far more than any jersey drama. Private investors, foreign leagues, and billionaire-backed sports groups are watching the chaos unfold with interest, and they're reportedly preparing to make moves. These aren't small-time investors looking for a side project. These are people with the money power and global reach to build something new, a rival league, an international super tournament, or even a complete reimagining of women's basketball that bypasses the current hierarchy entirely. And here's the part that rattles the WNBA the most. Caitlyn Clark and Sophie Cunningham know they have options. They're no longer confined to the league's old structure, old politics, and old gatekeepers. They've become faces of a new era, the kind of talent and personality that outside investors dream about building around. If they walk away from Team USA or even the WNBA itself, they wouldn't be stepping into the unknown. They'd be stepping into waiting arms with open checkbooks. The refusal to play after being offered that Russia 12 might not be a simple protest. It might be a signal. A reminder that loyalty to Team USA isn't automatic anymore. The committee can no longer rely on players needing the platform. For the first time, players like Caitlyn and Sophie hold the leverage. They're proving they don't need the old system to be stars. If the system won't treat them right, they can simply walk. And the system would be the one left scrambling for survival. While the players argued on the court and fans exploded online, another battle was unfolding in conference rooms, one far more ruthless. The networks that paid millions for broadcast rights were reportedly furious. NBC expected Olympic viewership spikes driven by Caitlyn Clark. ESPN built entire segments around her impact. Amazon invested heavily in WNBA coverage, anticipating the Clark effect to carry the postseason. Instead, the moment Team USA left Caitlyn off the roster, ratings dipped, storylines collapsed, and advertisers started asking uncomfortable questions. Behind closed doors, pressure mounted fast. Executives weren't gentle. They wanted Team USA to fix the problem immediately, not next season, not after the Olympics now. And with panic rising inside the committee, offering Caitlyn the legendary WN12 jersey became less of an honor and more of a business transaction. A band-aid. A Hail Mary thrown out of fear, not respect. This wasn't a basketball decision. It wasn't a celebration of her talent. It was a financial maneuver disguised as tradition. The committee hoped that if Caitlyn accepted number 12, the networks would calm down, fans would return, and the WNBA could patch over months of mismanagement without admitting fault. But instead, the move exposed something they could no longer hide. Caitlyn Clark's influence is bigger than the system built to contain her. She doesn't just drive ratings, she drives leverage. She can sway executives, shift media narratives, and force an entire organization to rethink its priorities with a single decision. And the moment she said no, the business side realized something the committee refused to see. The future of their product depends on a player they can no longer control. The clearest evidence that Team USA was unraveling came from their own contradictions. Just weeks earlier, the committee defended leaving Caitlyn Clark off the roster by insisting she lacked experience, needed time, and wasn't ready for the international stage. It was a flimsy explanation, but at least it was an explanation. Then, suddenly, without warning, they offered her the captain's number, the most prestigious jersey in the program's history. In one move, they shattered their own narrative and exposed exactly how chaotic their decision-making had become. Fans saw it instantly. If Caitlyn truly wasn't ready, why give her Diana Taurasi's throne? If she wasn't experienced enough to make the roster, why hand her the symbol of leadership, legacy, and dominance? The contradiction didn't just raise eyebrows, it raised alarms. It made people wonder if the selection process was driven by basketball, or by emotion panic and damage control. And that led to an even bigger question. Did the committee even ask Taurasi before offering her number? If they did, and she agreed, it signals she's preparing to step aside. But if they didn't, and insiders quietly believe that's the real story, then Team USA disrespected the greatest player in its own history just to cover a PR disaster. This was the moment fans reached their breaking point. The jersey offer became the smoking gun. Proof that the old guard wasn't protecting tradition. They were scrambling to save themselves. And the more the committee tried to explain it away, the more obvious the meltdown became. What Caitlin and Sophie didn't just spark controversy, it exposed a divide the league has been hiding for years. On one side are the veterans, the players who came up through the old hierarchy where respect was earned, slowly opportunities were limited, and tradition ruled every decision. These players see themselves as gatekeepers defending the culture they built. To them, Caitlyn's rapid rise, massive fan base, and immediate star status feel like a threat not just to their roles, but to the system that shaped their entire careers. On the other side is the new wave. Younger players who grew up in the social media era, who understand branding momentum and entertainment value. They see Caitlyn's fast-paced, high-scoring, television-friendly game as the future, not an exception. They understand she brings attention, money, and visibility the league has never experienced before. And quietly, many of them want to align themselves with that energy rather than fight it. Meanwhile, the business side of the WNBA is caught in the crossfire. Executives want growth. They want sellouts, record ratings, sponsorship deals, and international buzz. Caitlyn Clark gives them all of that effortlessly. But the old guard wants control. They want to maintain the same traditions, the same hierarchy, the same unwritten rules about waiting your turn. The two worlds can't coexist anymore. Caitlyn and Sophie's refusal forced that tension into the open. It stripped away the illusion of unity and left the league facing a fundamental question. Is women's basketball going to cling to its past or embrace the future that's already arrived? For the first time, the players, not the committee, not the veterans, are demanding the league choose a direction. Caitlyn Clark's refusal to play didn't just reject a jersey, it rejected the idea that she needs the system to validate her. This moment proved the opposite. The system needs her far more than she needs it. And when Sophie Cunningham stood beside her, it signaled something even bigger. Players are no longer afraid to break ranks, challenge the hierarchy, or call out the politics that have controlled the league for decades. Team USA misplayed their hand at every turn. They underestimated the backlash, disrespected their own traditions, and exposed how fragile their influence truly is. What should have been a simple gesture became a spotlight on everything they tried to hide, and a turning point they can't undo. So now the question hangs over the entire sport. Did Team USA disrespect a legend? Or accidentally crown a new one?